please.
How you doing?
Good to see you, man.
Full disclosure, I was going to go see Nikki, but I came to see you instead. So
Okay, well,
I'll
glad
be
to have
honest,
you, my man.
I like it. No, I've heard you speak
What's
before.
your name?
I'm Derek.
Derek.
I live here in Derry. I'm a transplant from Philadelphia. I moved up here about 20 years ago. So real quick, I'm almost 50 years old. I have kids that are twin boys that are 26 years old. You're young. My kids are only 10 years younger than you. How do you plan to reach the younger crowd? Because all of us in here are about the same age, and we've had our core values and beliefs for the same age. For a long time. How are you going to reach the young people? That's critical for any race, and that's where for many years, even when I lived in Philadelphia, I said, how are the Reds going to reach out to all this blue? What's your plan to reach out to the young people? That's a key demographic.
Absolutely, and not just a demographic for this election. It is the demographic for the future of our country by definition. So we share something in common. I also have two sons. I wouldn't be in this race if I didn't have kids. There's no way I would have been in the headspace to think about doing what I'm doing. It is to reach their generation that I care. And in order to solve a problem, you got to see it with clear eyes. Kevin's right. I am an optimist, but I don't believe in like a blind, fake optimism. You got to see the problem with clear eyes in order to find a way to the actual solution. Problem I see in our kids' generation. Less than 16% of Gen Z says they're even proud to be an American. We have a 25% recruitment deficit in the U.S. military last year. It's actually a survey in the last month. It's a very well-conducted survey across young Americans that found 60% of young Americans would rather give up their right to vote than to give up their access to TikTok. Not kidding you. So that's the state of affairs that we're starting from. Here's my view. I'm going to tell you how I do it as a candidate, and then I'm going to tell you about, from a policy perspective, how do we revive that missing national pride. As a candidate, I think we need to level up as a party. Okay, we talk about free speech to roomfuls of people who agree with us. Well, you want to practice what we preach. That's why when I come here, we go to New England College. I have a room full of, I don't know if you guys have been to New England College, roomfuls of students that mostly don't agree with the things I have to say. But I'll tell you what, I'm not sure they've all made up their minds yet either. Right, what did I say? Young people are hungry for purpose and meaning. They're hungry for a cause right now. So what are they being served up by the other side? Go to Ben & Jerry's and order a cup of ice cream with some social justice sprinkles on top. Make yourself feel good about yourself. Well, you don't satisfy a moral hunger with fast food. They're hungry for the real thing. And this is what the left is very good at. You got to give credit where credit's due. They will take that hunger and they'll give you a vision of identity. Race, gender, sexuality, climate. Well, that fills a starvation for hunger and purpose. Climate is just the new religion. Well, what are we doing? We're criticizing that stuff with our brains, right? We're saying, well, here's why that's hypocritical and why that's wrong, and the climate agenda is actually bad for our economy. And I agree with all that. Of course, that's true. But that doesn't reach a young person in the hole in their heart. But if you hold the size of God in your heart and God does not fill it, something else will instead. The same can be said for belief in a nation. So if the left is talking about race, gender, sexuality, climate, I want us to be talking more about the individual. There's only one you. There will only ever be one you, Derek. You're not riding some tectonic plate of group identity. You are you, endowed by our Creator with your free will to achieve whatever you want with your hard work and dedication. The individual, the family, the best known form of governance to mankind, the nation, that I'm a citizen of this nation, not some nebulous global citizen somewhere, and yes, that we are one nation under God. Individual, family, nation, God. That defeats race, gender, sexuality, and climate any day of the week. That's what we're running to. We can't just be running from something, we're running to something. And I see young people across this country responding to that. And I've adopted a commitment in this campaign. I want all of you to hold me to it. I want all of you to hold the other candidates to it too. In our party, and you know what? The Democratic Party should follow along. It is the talk to everyone policy. I'm not running to lead a political party. I'm running to lead a nation. So whether it's NBC News or CNN or far left or far right or One America News to CBS News, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk to everybody because that's what it means to lead a nation. We're going to the south side of Chicago, where I went a month ago, a place where not even Republicans go, even Democrats don't go there anymore. 2 weeks ago, I was in Kensington, in Philadelphia. I've traveled to India in the 1990s, rural parts of India. I have not seen drug-ridden poverty like I saw in Kensington 2 weeks ago. Ronald Reagan did this. He went to the South Bronx in his lead up to the 1980 landslide that he delivered. So I think that's what we got to do. As candidates, we've got to show up. There are other candidates in our Republican primary who I hope change their mind on this, and I'll applaud them if they do, who said they won't talk to NBC News because they're not nice to them. Well, I refuse to say, if I'm asking you to sit across the table from Xi Jinping, I better be willing to sit across the table from Don Lemon or Chuck Todd, which I've done. And neither of them is on the air anymore, either. And then from a policy perspective, and here we could have a much longer conversation, but I'll leave an idea, I'll leave it at least a North Star with you. The North Star is this: young people do not value a country that they simply inherit. We value a country that we have a stake in creating, in building, in knowing something about. I think that every high school student across this country should be required to pass the same civics test that every immigrant has to pass.
To order. Committee will come to order. Ms. Kamek had asked unanimous consent for the committee to watch the video. There was an objection. I'm going to yield now to Mr. Pallone for the purposes of his objection.
I looked at the video, but I insist on my objection because I have to be honest, I don't even understand what the person is saying. It's all, to me, it's just almost impossible for us to understand what he's saying and how it relates to what we're discussing here. Even the authentication is difficult. So I insist on the objection, Madam Chair.
Instead of a unanimous consent, the committee, I'm going to ask then that the committee vote as to whether or not to see the video. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. No. The ayes have it.
Recorded vote, Madam Chair.
Yes, for a recorded vote. A recorded vote has been requested. The clerk will call the roll.
Burgess. Burgess votes aye. Latta. Latta votes aye. Guthrie. Guthrie votes aye. Griffith. Griffith votes aye. Bilirakis. Bilirakis votes aye. Johnson. Johnson. Bouchon. Bouchon votes aye. Hudson. Hudson votes aye. Wahlberg. Wahlberg votes aye. Carter. Carter votes aye. Duncan. Duncan votes aye. Palmer. Palmer votes aye. Dunn. Dunn votes aye. Curtis. Curtis votes aye. Lesko. Pence. Pence votes aye. Crenshaw. Crenshaw votes aye. Joyce. Armstrong. Armstrong votes aye. Weber. Weber votes aye. Allen. Allen votes aye. Balderson. Balderson votes aye. Fulcher. Fulcher votes aye. Pfluger. Pfluger votes aye. Harshbarger. Harshbarger votes aye. Miller-Meeks. Kamek. Kamek votes aye. Obernolte. Obernolte votes aye. Pallone. Pallone votes no. Eshu. Eshu votes no. DeGette. DeGette votes no. Schakowsky. Matsui. Matsui votes no. Castor. Castor votes no. Sarbanes. Sarbanes votes no. Tonko.
No.
Tonko votes no. Clark. Cardenas. Cardenas votes no. Ruiz. Ruiz votes no. Peters. Dingle. Dingle votes no. Veazey. Custer. Custer votes no. Kelly. Kelly votes no. Barragan. Blount Rochester. Blount Rochester votes no. Soto. Soto votes no. Craig. Craig votes no. Schreier. Schreier votes no. Trahan. Trahan votes no. Fletcher. Fletcher votes no. Chair Rogers? Chair Rogers votes aye.